Hey guys, today I want to dig into what is keeping you from creating. Now, we have talked about creative mojo before, right? But I really find that most of the time there are three things that keep people from creating. Some of it you can control, some of it you can't. And I want to address these things because I need you to be graceful with yourself if there are things that are out of your control. However, I talk to a lot of designers and there is a lot in your control. So let's identify those things and decide if there are ways for you spending more time creating, which I think is part of the reason you're here, because you want to be designing more. All right, so number one is external circumstances. This is one you don't have any control over. Right now, as I am taping this, there is a monstrous snowstorm happening outside. It's been going for 24 hours. There is so much snow. I can't control the snowstorm, okay? So if I'm not creating because of something that I really am not in control of, then you need to be graceful with yourself on that, okay? There are also other external circumstances. For example, if you have to run a kid to the emergency room, if you have someone pass away in your family, right? We've got to give ourselves grace. I tell you guys to design every day, but you also need to be thinking of this logically, right? Okay, so can't do that much about external circumstances, okay? So let's not worry about that. We're gonna set that one aside because we all know that is special, right? That's special. It doesn't happen that often. And so I don't even really consider it something that I'm looking for when I'm concerned that a designer isn't doing what they need to be doing in order to be winning and creating. All right, the second thing is, and let me just look at my list. Yeah, okay. The second thing is personal. So what do I encompass with personal? So very often it has to do with whatever's going on in your own mind. So like personal struggles, depression, for sure, you guys, the number of creatives who deal with depression, that is a very real thing, okay? PTSD. I myself have PTSD, you guys, and so when you're dealing with an episode or something that's very difficult, it is difficult. It's hard to deal with, and you're trying to work your way through it. Now, do I sometimes work myself into a frenzy? Yes, I do. Stressed out, I need to finish all the things, it's not happening in the timeline I want it to happen in, right? And so we have to be really careful of the personal stuff, because here's the thing. Yes, there are personal struggles and things that we feel, right? Because of these external circumstances. Like we can't control how our child is behaving that day or how a parent is behaving that day or whatever, okay? We can control our reaction to it. So if we're feeling like we can't create, but we have the time and space for it, but we're not doing it because we're so overwhelmed, we're so, just out of our own mind about all the stuff happening around us, we have to figure out a way to self-soothe. And I remember when my children were really little, one of the things that, was always really hard was teaching them to self-soothe. And by teaching, I mean, they have to learn how to self-soothe, right? So, of course, a binky or a pacifier would help. I know some kids are thumb suckers. My kids weren't thumb suckers, but everyone had a binky or a pacifier. My youngest son, I think we just got really lazy. We got him off of the pacifier, but he had his babas and he loved his babas, and he held on to him for a really long time, and we just let him. That youngest child that gets away from you, right? So teaching ourselves how to get ourselves down, like I know personally when I'm really stressed out, and this has recently happened to me, like where I'm really stressed out and I'm almost feeling frantic. I have to count myself down. That's one of my techniques. I'll just count from 10 to 0, breathe into every single one of those, and then try to center myself to remember what I actually have to do. Because here's the thing, you guys, the word priority, it used to be single. And for some reason in our modern society, we use the word priorities. And I do it personally myself. When the truth is, there usually is only one priority. There's one thing to get done. For example, on my list today, I have so many things, okay? My team needs stuff from me. The Ink Club stuff needs to be done. I need to finish a bundle for Ink Club. I have to respond to some Design Suite members about stuff that's going on, operation stuff. I mean, just all kinds of things. But the reason I'm here doing a podcast episode is because my priority was to finish my podcast episodes today. That was my number one priority. And so I was determined to get it done because it was my number one thing. So when I do that breathing exercise for myself, and I cannot recommend it enough. I would love to even do it with you right now. So just right now, if you're in the car, keep your eyes open. But the rest of you, if you're listening to this and you just for 1 second need to breathe, I want you to notice your state right now. Maybe you're already in a relaxed state listening to me. Maybe you're cooking or doing something else. So you don't have to close your eyes if you're doing those things. I know a lot of people tell me they listen to me while they're in their car driving, or they're cooking, which is fantastic, makes me so happy. Or sewing. Oh my gosh, the number of you guys who are sewing while you listen to me is awesome. So if you want to do this with me, you're just going to breathe. If you can't close your eyes, I want you to breathe. And you're going to count down with me. If you have the ability to put your hand on your heart, so I've got my right hand on my heart, or your left hand on your heart, and I just want you to feel what it feels like right now, and then I want you to notice what it feels like when you're done counting down. Okay, ready? All right. 10, take a deep breath. 9, take a deep breath. 8, take a deep breath. 7, take a deep breath. 6, take a deep breath. 5, take a deep breath. 4, take a deep breath. 3, take a deep breath. 2, take a deep breath. 1, take a deep breath. 0. All right, just feel your state, feel your heart and how you feel now versus the way you did over 10 seconds ago. I wasn't even doing all the breathing because I was counting for you guys, but legitimately I feel calmer. It's amazing, right? And so many times when we're stuck in those personal struggles, what will happen is we've like, our mind is filled up, our heart is beating really fast, and we've almost put ourselves in that stressful moment. Like we've stressed ourselves out very often. And so I think that's a great exercise for those of you who get a little overwhelmed, anxious. Anxiety is a real thing, you guys. I have a daughter who has a diagnosis with the disorder of anxiety. So it is very real, and you might be suffering from it, but you need to figure out ways to help bring yourself to a place where you can think and figure out what your number one priority is, not all the things happening around you. And for those of you who are trying to become designers, your number one priority might be just to sit down in front of your computer, open up Illustrator and draw one thing, something very simple, okay? Maybe it's to make one fabric repeat today. Maybe it's to make one scrapbooking paper today. Maybe it's to make a single illustration on your iPad. So figure out what the one thing is and just focus on it. Let all the other things slip away. Or if you're like me and you're stressed, you're gonna forget them all, put them down on paper. The power of putting it down on paper, just write down all the things you have to do. They're on the paper. They don't have to be stuck in your brain. And that is so powerful, more powerful than you realize. So hopefully those two things will help you today. I wasn't planning on going into that, but I think it's because I'm cozy in my, you guys, I've got my sweater on. I tend to be a hot-blooded girl. And today I was just like, you know what? I'm putting on the sweater and I'm getting cozy and warm in my office, and I have my heater going on my feet. So those two things I really hope will help you. So count down and breathe. And second of all, write down everything in your brain onto a piece of paper so it's out of your brain. So you have a long list, but it's not in your brain, okay? And you can just focus on the one thing that actually needs to happen. Okay, so I call that personal, and we can control what's happening inside. The third thing I think that deters us from being creative, from sitting down and actually doing the work we need to do, is mindset. Sometimes we might be in a calm state, but we've convinced ourselves something. Maybe that you don't have enough time to do something. Maybe that you're not good enough. I mean, I see the general, right? This imposter syndrome. Maybe you've been scrolling on Instagram, looking at all the gorgeous stuff, and you just go, I can't even compete, right? Sometimes that happens. Okay. So how do we deal with that? All right. So easy if you decide you're going to change your thoughts. Okay. So if you know that a trigger for you is Instagram or social media, you have to stop looking at it. And guess what? You're in control of that. You can physically put your phone down and move away from that. All right. We have to put on our big girl pants to do that. The second thing is, if we maybe are cool with looking at stuff, or we're not worried about it, instead it's just changing the thoughts around it of, I think I could make that, or I think I could make that even better, or I could bring something totally unique and different to the table. So there's that. But then there's also mindset stuff around, like, I don't have enough time. I do this to myself. I don't usually have an issue with the comparison thing, but I definitely freak myself out with time. That's because I know that time is not a renewable resource. So I feel very, very, very conscious of the amount of time I'm doing anything. So if I see that I have only 30 minutes to do something, and I know the project is like an hour and a half long, I get frustrated and I feel like, oh, is that even worth starting? The answer is always yes, you guys. And if it's not that project, there is something else you could get done in that amount of time. Even if it's finish all your email, or open up the document, name it, organize it, and maybe add the first couple of squares in that Illustrator document. Does that make sense? I think one of the things as designers we think we need to have is huge chunks of time. I do love a huge chunk of time, but it actually makes us lazier. Isn't that crazy? It really does. Because if you have inordinate amounts of time, you do not give yourself deadlines. That's why they say the busiest people get the most done. Because if your day is fully scheduled out, because you just have all the things going on, all those nooks and crannies of time that you have, you will fit the things in that you have to do and you need to do. Sometimes design feels like the extra thing. You need to treat it like it is the thing. If that is the thing you plan on doing with your life, then it is the thing, and you need to make it a priority. If it is just an extra thing, very often it will not make it into the nooks and crannies, and very often it gets always pushed to the sideline, okay? I'm like this not necessarily with design work, but with projects that don't even have deadlines, okay? At the time of recording this, I'm still working on my fabric line. Why? It got pushed to the side. It didn't have a hardcore deadline, and all these other things I had does. In just a few weeks, you're gonna see me announcing pre-order for my new book. That got prioritized over my fabric line because I knew that there was a certain timeline when I needed to get it finished, when it needed to be edited, when we needed to photograph for the cover. So there were all these things that needed to be done. The fabric line didn't have a deadline. It's whenever I decided I was going to get to it. So we have to treat the things that are our priorities right up front as the main thing that we're doing. All right? All right, you guys, I hope you are creating. I think creating is an important part of our daily lives. I think it makes us feel, fulfilled. It makes us feel successful, and it takes care of an ache, you guys. I think there's an ache in all of us that longs to create. And so part of the reason I do this podcast is because I hope that by you listening to this, you are motivated, that you are excited to sit down at your computer and work on something, to sit down in your living room with your iPad and to draw something out, because I think that need to create is so important. All right, guys, loved having you here. And by the way, if you have not checked out my free training, it's a free workshop, and I do believe it's carinagardnercourses.com/free training. I know I've given you guys some different websites. I think it's carinagardnercourses.com/free training. Go check it out. I'm going to talk to you about some paradigm shifts I hope that you have about the design industry. It will also introduce you to Design Suite. If you've been wondering about my program, that's a great place to learn about it. Anyway, so glad to have you here. Hope you have a chance to go check out that free training, and I will see you soon. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.